All right, Shalom. First off, I want to start up by saying all praises, honor, and glory is due unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai by Hashem Rakakadash. That's all praises to the world calls God, whose true name in the Hebrew is Yahweh. By Hashem meaning in the name, Yahushai meaning the name of the only begotten Son. Also want to say double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone and peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, preaching his word in truth and sincerity. On the brother Tazabah and the Great Millstone, Arizona Camp, Lord will, with another video to edify. And I wanted to go on this whole, all cap Malone, because John Mark Reiser just refuses to get it, and he tries to spread doubt, right? He tries to spread doubt, man. And I'm gonna play a little bit of this and get some precepts, because ultimately, what you gotta understand is this dude doesn't believe in prophecy, right? He believes in what he was taught in that theological cemetery that he went to. That's all he believes, what he was taught. The things of the spirit, he doesn't understand because the Lord isn't dealing with him. He was never schooled on the things of the spirit. He was just schooled on, history of, Calvinist, other Christian reforms, right? But never on the actual scriptures. So let me play this and we'll get into it.
Okay, so you believe, Yakasha, that the indigenous peoples of what is now called United States and south of that and north of that as well, First Nations peoples, that they fulfill the curses of Deuteronomy 28 and therefore are Israelites. Is that your basic position?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to share a little bit why today?
Well, if you go over Deuteronomy 20:15 all the way through 68, you're gonna see that every one of these curses happened in colonialism.
Okay. Oh, okay.
15.
Is that well? Okay, then. If that's your basic intention, why do you believe that the things described here, if they happened during the era of colonialism, why do you think that means that the people that it happened to are therefore Israelites? What makes you think that it should be applied to them?
Because the Lord said in the last days that they would be the curses, all these curses from 15 through 68 in Deuteronomy 28 and 46 says, it reads, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
So do you think the sign is, what is the sign supposed to point to, do you believe? So signs point to something. What are you thinking that it's pointing to?
It's the curses. And this dude tells him it, and he just keeps saying it like he doesn't understand it, right? If you went to a basketball game and one side of the court had all Warriors jerseys on, and the other side of the court had all Miami Heat jerseys on, you would be able to use that as a sign for you to know what team they're a part of, right? The Lord did something spiritual for us. He gave us history to go on and look back into because it's written, right? Let's get it, man. Grab this one. It says, Job 8:8. It says, for inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. Right? So you're supposed to inquire to the former age through the history and prepare yourself to the searching of what your fathers, what they went through. Does this tie into the scriptures? This is how you know, right? But for them, they expect us to, for Christians, they expect us to have a blind eye because in their mindset, everybody has to be saved. No, when you really get down to the really meat and potatoes of this thing, Israel needs salvation, not you nations, not the heathen. They're in their kingdoms. They have their own governments. They're able to operate within themselves, right? They have a level of autonomy, even though they're under Esau, to where they can sit here and dictate what they do with themselves. Israel doesn't have that. We're completely under subjection of all those who have taken us captive, and we're in all nations under the sun, right? But ultimately, this dude is off. Now, I'm going to get some of this because you see the title. It says, do Native American Latinos fulfill Deuteronomy 28? Well, let's go into some scriptures. We'll get into some history, and we'll hit on all this, man. This is Jeremiah. This is not Jeremiah, but Romans 8. I'm going to start here. In 16, it says, the Spirit itself bear witness with our spirit, right? And you have to know what the Spirit is. This is John 6 and 63, right? So now we got to figure out what the Spirit is to fully understand that scripture. Precept must be upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. So yeah, Hebrew hopscotch is part of actually knowing the scriptures. John 6 and 63 it is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profit nothing. It says, the words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life, right? So the words of the Lord, the words of Yahweh Shai, all this written in the scriptures, because the Lord said, what? I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me. So from Genesis to Revelation, those are the words that were spoken. That's the Spirit. That's the life, right? So back in that Romans 8, in 16, it says, it is the Spirit that itself that bear, it says, the Spirit itself bear witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High, right? So there's a spirit, according to the scriptures, that matches with your personal spirit as an Israelite that shows, right, that you are the children of the Most High. The history, what the Lord wrote down that would happen, right? When you search your fathers, you see that what? The Negroes, Hispanics, so-called, the Negroes, the so-called Latinos, the so-called Native Americans match that history, along with the tribes that have been scattered throughout all the world, as it was prophesied, right? It's showing that we are the children of the Most High. And Vocab Malone likes to sit here and walk around the fact that there were signs and wonders, right? So let's keep going. This is Zechariah 1. And 6. It says, but my words and my statutes, which I have commanded my servants and prophets, did they not take hold of your fathers? Right? So the words, the statutes, and commandments, did they not take hold? So if they took hold of something, right? Let's go to the blue letter. See what that word take hold means. It's a nashag, and it says to reach, overtake, take hold upon, to overtake, to reach, attain to, cause to reach, to be able to secure, reach, have enough, right? To overtake, obtain, get, right? To hold. You see, so did not all these curses, right? Let's go back to the scripture. Zechariah 1:6. It says, but my words and my statutes which I commanded my servants the prophets, did they not take hold of your fathers? Did they not overtake? Did they not get? Are they not on? Right? And they returned and said, like as Yahweh of hosts thought to do unto us according to our ways. Right? Going back in Deuteronomy 28:15, we'll get that. Right? Let's just jump to that and then we'll jump back. Deuteronomy 28:15 says, but it shall come to pass if thou will not hearken. Right? Now let's go back and forth, right? So let me pull out this pointer so y'all can see what I'm clicking and see what I'm referring to. All right, so it says, and returned, right, we're right here. And they returned and said, like as Yahweh of hosts thought to do unto us, right? So the Yahweh of hosts that thought to do unto us, right here, Deuteronomy 28:15. But it shall come to pass if thou will not hearken unto Yahweh, thy power, to observe to do all the commandments that I have commanded, commandments and his statutes which I have commanded thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Right? So this is all that the Lord had thought to do unto us. Right? Now, going back to Zechariah 1:6, we read the whole thing. It says, but the words, it says, but my words and my statutes which I commanded my servants the prophets, did they not take hold of your fathers? And they returned and said, like as Yahweh of hosts had thought to do unto us, according to our ways and according to our doings, so hath he dealt with us. Right? So has he dealt with us. Meaning what? He put the curses on us. Right? Which breaks down, and you go right down to Deuteronomy 28 and 46, which was the topic of discussion in his snippet, which says what? And they, going into the curses, because that's entirely what this entire thing is about, from the 15th verse on down, and they shall be upon thee, the commandments, the statutes, the curses, right? And they shall be upon thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, right? So just like the analogy I use, you got two opposing teams. You got the New England Patriots on one side, and everybody has a Patriots jersey, a big ass, Patriots logo right across. And you got the other side, and it's the Chiefs, right? And they got what, the tomahawk, not the tomahawk, but the arrowhead, showing you who they're with. Wow. Okay. Tuck them down. Look at that. Showing you who they're with. Right? Now you know which sides belong to who. So there's a side that shows you that the curses are upon the Israelites, and it was so crucial that when you go to Daniel's the ninth chapter, this is why when people talk about slavery, right? They automatically start thinking of what? The so-called Negroes. Because it obviously matches with what happened to us. This is Daniel's 9:12. And he had confirmed his word, which he spake against us, going into the curses, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven had not been done as had been done unto Jerusalem. As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil is come upon us. Yet may we not our prayers before Yahweh our power, that we, right? And the law of Moses, what is the evil that he's talking about? The curses. 15 on down. Deuteronomy 28 and 15 on down. So that's the evil that was done to us under the whole heaven, right? You start talking about slavery, they're not sitting there talking about the slavery that happened to Brits. They're not sitting there talking about slavery that happened to Pakistanis, right? They're not sitting there talking about the slavery that happened to the Chinese. You talk about slavery, people automatically think and understand that you're talking about Israelites, and they have to purposely say, oh, well, they had indentured servitudes over here. But what happened to Israel eclipses what happened to indigent servants. What happened to Israel, the true Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, eclipse what happened to the so-called Ish in the time of the aloe cost, right? So you can't even sit here and act like that. There's a reason why that happens, because what? It was going to be for a sign and wonder that nobody else would go through the same things that you went through. Now, when you go back to the video, let's see if it'll let me pull it back up. Real funny how it had to update right when I'm in it. And now it goes to a video that I'm not even trying to watch.
Curses. It says,
Right? Now in the video title, it says what? It says, do Native American Latinos fulfill Deuteronomy 28:15? And they do. Right? When you go into the devastation of the Indies, and you go into the history, they were going through it just along with us. The scriptures tell you, we get this. Jeremiah 50 and 33, it says, thus say Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah, right? Israel going to the northern kingdom, the children of Judah going into the southern kingdom, were oppressed together, and all that took them captive held them fast. They refused to let them go, right? So when you go into the history, at the same time where Issachar was being shipped over to Europe in ships into slavery under Edomites, as the scriptures write about, that nation having fierce countenance, right? The same things were happening to Judah going from South Africa to Americas. We were oppressed together. They fit the curses. And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Now, when you go into the history, I believe it's let's see, I think it's the 13th chapter. Let's get this. Yeah. Got to start up on this. It says, all right, let's get into this. I'm going to start right here. Second is the 13th chapter, right? And let's pull it up over here. No, I'm spelling it wrong. 1 second. Now let's go back to this scripture. Here we go. This is Second Maccabees 13. back in there. Second Maccabees 13, right? Going into the tribes, right? How we know that the Latinos are part of the tribes, not only by spirit, right? Not only by how they move, how they act. Other scriptures in the scriptures that explain them, history and artifacts that go back showing you that they were already speaking Hebrew here, right? Artifacts that show you that they were writing in Hebrew characters, holding customs of Hebrew Israelites, right? But also you can go to the scriptures and see how these things match up. This is second Ezra 13 and 39. It says, whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, the king of Hosea the king, going into Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. Right? Now, you can go into this history, 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, in the 3rd verse, it says, and against him came up Salmanassar, king of Assyria, and Hosea, right? Same thing. Hosea, same thing, right? Became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hosea, for he had sent messengers to sow king of Egypt, and brought no presents to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came and thought throughout all the land, and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. Right? Going a little more. It says, in the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan, in the cities of the Medes. Right? So that's going into the carrying away. Now, this goes into the deeper history of what happened during that time, right? So it says, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, the king, it says, whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive and carried them over the waters, right? So they came into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and to go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, talking about America, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into the Euphrates by a narrow path. And you can look that up, because there is actually a path through the Euphrates that leads into a path into the sea that is carried by a certain current, which they knew this because what? King Solomon had men that went into what? Ophir, which is talking about America, to get gold yearly, and peacocks, right? So, this is how we know, right? And it says right here, verse 45, and through that country there was a great way to go, namely a year and a half. In the same region is called Asheroth, right? This is talking about America, right? A year and a half. It's not going to take a whole year and a half to go from what? Israel to Assyria. No, it's talking about from Assyria through the Euphrates to the Americas, right? And this is how it went down. This is how we know that they're Israelites, because they match the curses just as well as the Judites. But Esau suppresses the history of really what was going on. But a lot of the history that's known, you see that Esau's doing it what? To to the so-called Negro as much as to the so-called Native American and to the so-called Latino. Judah just gets a heavy portion of it because what? They're the head tribe. And they were the ones that were predominantly around when Yahushua came. Right? And they rejected him. So what? They get a heavier dose of the punishment. Right? But the so-called Native Americans, so-called Latinos, right, and the so-called Negroes are the children of the Lord, are the true Israelites. We match the history, we match the prophecies, right? The Lord willing us to edify them and say, call Allah, Yahweh, Shem, Shai, Shem, Karkara, Shalom.